Today, we're going to look at the grieving brain. There will be some science and some observations from both my experiences with grief and my private therapy practice. I also hope that there will be some comments, some questions, or some reflections from all of you. My name is Jo McRogers, and I'm a social worker who supports grief through this channel on YouTube and through my private therapy practice. Welcome to our Grievolution community here on YouTube. Please subscribe to the channel and turn on the notifications so that you'll know every time we explore doing grief differently. So, what happens to our brain when we experience the death of somebody that we care for? Let's look at science first. After a loss, our bodies release hormones and chemicals that flood our brain that then create a fight, flight, or freeze response. Our usual patterns of thinking and problem solving and processing emotions become inaccessible to us, and ultimately, they remodel our brain's circuitry. This is referred to as neuroplasticity. Neuroplasticity is a two-way street, however, and there is a lot of talk about neuroplasticity in our wellness, in recovery, in treating post-traumatic stress disorder, and lots of other therapies. However, in the experience of grief, our brain shifts and prioritizes to the basic functions. It responds to the threat, fight, flight, and freeze. The prefrontal cortex, which is the location of decision-making, memory, focus, problem solving, and impulse control, takes a back seat. Instead, the limbic system, which is our reptilian brain, and it's in charge of behavioral and emotional states based solely on survival, becomes the driver. Our brains are designed to protect us, and grief feels like a threat. The result is often heightened anxiety and an inability to think straight. Dr. Lisa Shulman is a neurologist who experienced a traumatic loss, and she wrote a book called Before and After Loss. The link to this book will be in the description of this video. Dr. Shulman says, quote, "Grieving involves a protective process. It's an evolutionary adaptation to help us survive in the face of trauma." So, it is critical to acknowledge that what grief brings us, from the whole range of depression to hopelessness and despair, from dissociative symptoms to emotional pain, is legitimately evidence of an altered brain state. So next, I wanted to make a few comments based on both my experiences as a griever in my life and those that I have seen in my therapy practice. More and more, grief is starting to become recognized as if it were a brain injury. Injuries require support and rehab and physio, assessments and reassessments, targeted goals and landmarks of recovery. As a society, we give these gracefully. But this is not so true when the issue is grief. There is a hurry up and heal, get over it mentality where grief exists. Grief brain fog experiences I have heard about frequently, and I've experienced many of them myself, are losing the car keys, or then finding them in the freezer after you brought in the groceries, not sleeping or can't stop sleeping, driving and getting lost even though you know the route so well, being unable to remember new or past events, shortness of patience with spouses and children, intolerance of chit-chat that not only feels meaningless, but it actually feels insulting, forgetting who you were calling as the phone is ringing, repeating ourselves or being sure that we told somebody something, body aches and pains, wildly disturbing dreams, major shifts in relationships, which are usually stemming from disappointment from others, not wanting to be touched or be sexual in any way on one end of the spectrum, or feeling super hypersexualized and needing touch. Stoves have been left on, pots have been boiled dry, smoke alarms have been activated. Forgetting to feed ourselves or to feed the dog, forgetting to pay bills on time, or yes, even forgetting to show up to your appointments with your grief counselor. All of these and more make us feel that we are not who we know ourselves to be. What can you add to this list? What did it look like for you? Please share in the comments below so that we can all feel a little less freakish in our missteps with grief. I remember feeling so out of step with the world when I was grieving the death of my dad. There I was working on an inpatient psychiatric ward as a student, and I was secretly hiding my major depressive symptoms. I also remember losing touch with days of the week and days and nights while caring for my mom until her death. All of these experiences that I had were driven by my grief brain. So please accept that a grief brain is for a reason. It is a very common yet not well acknowledged or spoken about reality. So for all of you currently experiencing what is called grief brain fog, know that this is a legitimate scientific state. It is not you losing your mind. It is not you being weak. It is not a fault of your character or strength. Please give yourself grace to know that this is you experiencing a traumatic event in a very human, primal way. As you find your way through your grief brain, I send you kind thoughts, kind words, and a kind heart. If this video has been helpful, please like and share so that we can normalize the experience of grief. Please be sure to subscribe. You will know when I post my next video about the rabbit holes of thought distortion while grieving. Thank you and take good care.